What's good, y'all? You already know what it is that I am reacting to. Have a real, this is a real interesting video, 25-minute joint. I know a good majority of Florida and you know the things that go on, but let's see. That's for me. I don't know everything, and I ain't ready to sit here and claim and act like, you know what I mean, and act like I know everything. So we about to get right into this right here. So I just want to say, if you're new to the channel, go on and hit the subscribe button, y'all. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and yeah, that's just, you know, cool little intro, right straight to the point. But we about to get right into this. Let's go.
Oh, I love it when I'm next to you. Riding through the 772.
Free Melly, man.
Where I come from, it ain't safe to believe. Where I come from, they ain't chasing a dream.
From the outside looking in, it looks like you're the most hated.
Yeah.
Might be the most hated in Florida right now.
Yeah. It's a jungle for real. You know what I'm saying? Every day a gamble. You know what I'm saying? You taking chances. You know what I'm saying? Walk out that door. You can be in the house taking a chance. Going to the bathroom, you taking a chance. Believe that.
4 young men were in this car when they were shot. Police say 3 of them have died. The vehicle pulled up to their Chevy sedan, opened fire, then took off. Now at 5:37, 2 men are in jail this morning, including an up-and-coming Florida rapper.
What is going on in Orlando? The Pooties, the Glock 9s, you did have records with them before you went to jail. Now it's like the fans don't see y'all together. They don't see y'all doing music together.
Well, I guess at one point you had a situation with Glock 9. Right.
Orange County deputies believe a feud between these 2 local rappers and their alleged ties to the 438 and AFNF is behind that shooting and other violence spanning between Orange and Osceola counties.
Controversial rap album cover is making its way around social media. The cover shows pictures of men who have been murdered in Jacksonville. Local rapper Queso posted the picture to Instagram. It's since been taken down.
Oh, wow.
Having the time of their life. Time about they smoking one of their ops.
Well,
the time of their life.
Little my video pops up.
Get involved is already too far. So anything out there is no more limit to it. You get what I'm saying? No more limit.
The past 5 years in Florida have arguably been some of the craziest times in rap history. Breakout artists like YNW Melly and Rod Wave have skyrocketed up into mainstream success, and wars in cities like Jacksonville and Orlando have fueled the music and found themselves getting national attention. In a short period of time, the state has produced countless successful rappers, but also an unusually high amount of rappers who have found themselves back in jail fighting big cases. The whole time, the ever-changing situation has kept fans' attention glued to the state. So in this video, we'll take a look at the period in Florida rap from 2018 to 2020.
Let me find out niggas actually got beef with Rod Wave like that. Cause hey, listen, if that happens, I'm shocked.
This is part 2 of the history of Florida rap. So if you haven't seen part 1, go check it out first. There will be a link in the description. The last video ended in 2018 with the passing of X, and the start of the end.
Realistically. Well, actually, this is the recap.
Of SoundCloud rap. The genre was losing the hold that it had on Florida for the previous couple of years, but it wasn't completely over. An artist named Snot had been quietly grinding since 2016, and in 2018 he started to take off with the big song called Gosha that he dropped in August. As the years went on, he would continue to be one of the hardest carrying the torch for cloud rap. Despite the rise of Snot, 2018 marked a clear shift in the types of artists who started blowing out of Florida. The era of rappers blowing up off fun music they were making at home on their laptops that was 95% fiction was over, and an era of real gangsters was beginning.
The rise of Orlando.
In West Orlando, several artists were beginning to get a buzz, and Glock 9 was the first to take off. Glock 9 had started rapping in 2017, and in 2018 he dropped his debut mixtape, Cold Face, Cold Case. The mixtape earned him some attention, and one song in particular, called Jail Hizzy Blues, stood out. He ended up dropping a music video for the song that got a lot of attention and views, and Worldstar ended up posting it on their channel as well, where it really took off and went viral. Glock 9 was getting tons of comparisons to Kodak, and people were saying he was trying to copy him, but their music really wasn't that similar. They just had a similar image, lingo, and heavy Florida accent. The Kodak comparisons actually ended up helping Glock 9, and were part of the reason he went as viral as he did. Glock 9 wasn't the only rapper out of West Orlando taking off though. He also had a homie named LPB Pooty, who was also taking off in 2018. Pooty and Glock had a couple songs together that were doing numbers, and he also had a solo song called Wonder Man that was also doing well. It looked like together Glock and Pooty could take over the Florida rap scene, but unfortunately their friendship wouldn't last. For some reason they fell out, and in March of 2018, Glock 9 dropped a song called 10% where he dissed Pooty. 10% ended up blowing up, getting millions of views, and becoming Glock 9's biggest song. Then in August, he ended up signing a $2 million record deal with Cash Money. 2 hours north of Orlando, Jacksonville was also starting to see his local rap scene gaining attention as well. Young and Ace had begun rapping seriously in 2017, and by early 2018, his music was starting to get some attention. Worldstar was posting his videos regularly, and it appeared that he was next up. Then, in August, his world was flipped upside down. One night, he was out celebrating his brother's birthday with 2 close friends, but unknown to them, ops were lurking. When Ace and his brothers left and got in the car, they were followed, and at the first red light, the ops pulled up beside them with Dracos and opened fire. Everybody in the car was hit. Ace ended up taking 8 shots and still miraculously surviving, but everybody else in the car died. To make matters worse, Ace was found with a gun on him, so as soon as he got out the hospital, they took him straight to jail for a month. Outsiders were shocked, but people in the city knew that beef had been brewing. One of the main people Ace had beef with was a rapper called Fulio. Fulio was an early Jacksonville music pioneer and had songs buzzing around the city as early as 2015. Through the years, he had continued to grind and put out music, seeing a little success, but never getting the big break he was looking for. Internet detectives believe that Fulio's problems with Young and Ace started in 2017 with the death of Fulio's cousin at the hands of one of Ace's friends. They believe this was the beginning of the war between the 2 rival groups, one called ATK, who Young and Ace was associated with, and the other called KTA, who Fulio was associated with. So the shooting of Ace, his brother, and homies was believed to be a part of this ongoing beef. And to people in the city, the situation wasn't that unexpected. But to outsiders, it was shocking, and the story got out everywhere. People who had never heard of Ace before ended up hearing the story about a rapper who was shot 8 times and lost a brother and 2 friends, and went to check out his music. It was a horrible situation for Ace to live through, but it ended up helping his career out a lot. In August, he dropped a project called Life of Betrayal, which did well, and on this mixtape was a song called Pain, where Ace discussed the situation he had been through, and it ended up taking off, gaining
I've never
views.
actually heard that.
Ace continued dropping and watching his numbers grow throughout the rest of the year. Another Jacksonville artist with a very similar story to Ace, called Lil Papa, also took off around the same time. Papa had been rapping for years, but in 2018, he experienced a similar situation to Ace, where he was in a car with friends that was shot up and he was hit. He only ended up losing one homie, but the situation inspired him to drop a song called Purple Hearts that ended up taking off, gaining millions of views, and making Papa the second most well-known Jacksonville artist outside of Ace. Over on the other side of Florida, Rod Wave was also beginning to gain some attention. Rod Wave was an artist from St. Petersburg who had started his career in 2016.
Oh shit! Oh shit! I've never seen. Cause I wasn't a Rod like that. Rod's not bad at all, but I haven't seen this.
Grinding for
not Rod like
this.
This is young Rod.
And by 2018, his music was starting to take off, and he was making a name for himself and doing numbers. Rod had a big year, but the most watched.
Who is it? My fault. My fault, y'all.
Florida artist in 2018 was Melly. YNW Melly started taking his career seriously when he came home from jail in 2017. He got to work dropping some of his best songs like 772 Love and Murder on My Mind. By 2018, Melly started to see things take off. He had songs like Blue Balenciagas and Butter Pecan going crazy.
Yeah.
And even though it had already been out, this was when Murder on My Mind really started going viral, racking up millions of views. He capitalized on this motion and dropped his debut album, I Am You, in August. Melly was blowing up and had people like Ye reaching out to him to make music. So it appeared that he was going to be the next star out of Florida. He started 2019 strong, dropping his second project, We All Shine, in January, hitting 27 on the Billboard Top 100. Then, on February 13th, he was arrested and charged with 2 bodies. And these weren't just 2 random people. These were the 2 people he had called his best friends. Back in 2018, Melly's friends Stack Chaser and Juvie had lost their lives to what was believed to be a drive-by. However, in February, when Melly was arrested, the cops revealed that they believed Melly had been the one to pull the trigger on them, and his friend Borland had helped him fake a drive-by. Catching a regular body would generate a crazy amount of attention for a rapper, but the YNW Melly situation was insane, and basically every media outlet covered it. And on top of this, the fact that his biggest song was called Murder on My Mind, and then he got booked for 2, caused his music to go crazy. Melly was officially mainstream, getting millions of views daily, but he was sitting in a cell facing a case that wasn't looking very good for him. The next 2 most viral rappers in Florida this year was a duo from Miami called the City Girls. The 2 artists had gotten a big look in 2018 when they were featured on Drake's hit single, In My Feelings. Then, in November, they dropped a song called Act Up. It didn't blow up immediately, but around January of 2019, it started to take off and go viral, and it ended up becoming a big part of the infamous Hot Girl Summer. The situation was slightly strange though, because one half of the duo was locked up during the entire rise for credit card fraud and wouldn't get out until the next year. Up in Jacksonville, Ace was going crazy. He teamed up with JayDaYoungan on a collab album called Can't Speak on It, and the hit single Ops took off, doing 5 million views in a month on YouTube. He followed this up with a solo album called Step Harder, which is also very successful, with the title track blowing up and becoming one of his biggest songs ever. Around summer, the ATK-KTA beef really started spilling over into the music. In January, Fulio had taken a big loss when he lost a friend he referred to as his little brother named Bibby. Fulio's ops would constantly diss Bibby.
That was the first song I actually heard of him.
The main op doing this was
I lost
Queso.
one of my homies.
Queso was Ace's right-hand man and alleged shooter.
Just heard that song.
He had started rapping in July, dropping a song with JayDaYoungan, and from the beginning he was extremely disrespectful and dissed Bibby and 3 of Fulio's other dead homies on his first song ever. Fulio responded with the freestyle on the Crazy Story beat, dissing several of Queso's dead homies. Then in September, Queso came back with 2 even more disrespectful songs called Dead Ops and Queso Bitch. Fulio responded with his own song called Dead Ops and another song called Address It. Alongside Fulio, another KTA rapper called YNR Mookie was also starting to gain some attention with songs like Dead Ops and 23K, but he got locked up on a weapons charge before he could take off.
Dang.
In the same city, but on a completely different wavelength, YK Osiris had busted onto the scene with his hit single Worth It, which had blown up into a commercial hit. Jacksonville was making a lot of noise in 2019, but over in St. Petersburg, Broadway was outshining everybody else in the state. In May, he dropped Hard on Ice. The song would be the biggest hit of his career, but it didn't take off immediately. He dropped an album called PTSD in June, which also did well. Then he dropped a remix to Hard on Ice in September, and a big song with Kevin Gates called Cuban Links in early October. By late October, Hard on Ice started to blow up. Rod Wave dropped Ghetto Gospel on November 2nd, and the whole time Hard on Ice was continuing to go crazy viral. It gained over 25 million views in a matter of weeks. In the span of a month, Rod Wave went from buzzing with big songs over 1 million, but still not widely known, to the biggest rapper in Florida, even surpassing Kodak and Melly in terms of searches.
Oh, wow.
In 2020, Rod Wave remained the biggest artist in Florida, and everything he dropped was hitting 1 million on YouTube easily. He dropped an album called Pray for Love containing the hit single Rags to Riches, which went even crazier after Lil Baby got on the remix. Over in Orlando, a new face was emerging. Hot Boy had been rapping as early as 2016 before Glock 9 or Pootie ever started, and in the beginning he was cool with both of them. But he had been caught breaking into houses and had been stuck in the juvenile program while they were blowing up in early 2018. By the time he got out in late 2018, they were already beefing, and he kept his distance, stayed to himself, and put out music trying to make up for lost time.
Smart for a fact.
He didn't see much progress for a while, but by late 2019, people were starting to catch on to his music. Going into 2020, he dropped a song called Go Talk, and it blew up, doing over 1 million views, adding to Hot Boy's growing wave. Then, in April, he dropped a song called Don't Need Time, and this was his breakout hit. After it dropped, his career took off at a crazy rate, and he became one of the latest artists in Florida. The song was unfortunately connected to a crazy backstory. It was a tribute to Hot Boy's homie who had recently been killed, and the person responsible was somebody in Glock 9's camp. This would lead to a bloody war through the rest of the year between Hot Boy's crew 438 and Glock 9's homies AF and F. So while Hot Boy was taking off doing songs with people like Polo G and Lil Baby, 438 and AF and F were trading bodies, hitting innocent civilians, having shootouts in mall parking lots, and wreaking havoc through Orlando.
It was
another artist who also took off from Orlando in 2020 was iamChriss. iamChriss also had problems with Glock 9, and Glock had allegedly shot up his house, which made Reese respond with a song called No Statements, addressing the situation and taking shots at Glock and one of his fallen homies. The song took off, and he was even able to get Dirk on the remix, making it even bigger. He wouldn't see too much success after this, but he at least became one of the biggest artists in Orlando. On a completely different wavelength, an artist called Cochise from Palm Beach, Florida, took off, dropping a song called Hatchback, gaining millions of views and drawing a lot of Playboy Cardi comparisons.
Oh, I reckon I know.
And he would go on to become one of the leaders of the vibey, melodic, SoundCloud-influenced side of rap. Meanwhile, in Jacksonville, the battle between KTA and ATK continued to rage on. A new artist called J.Breezy popped up, and he began to make some noise, dropping songs like Shoot It Out and Tweak Shit. He had beef with Julio and KTA and dissed them often. Queso continued to drop and was starting to gain a buzz. He wasn't dissing nearly as much as in the beginning, but he still mentioned Baby regularly. In August, he dropped a song called Been Dead that really took off, and it seemed like he had a chance to blow up. But in September, he was arrested and charged for a body in his rap plans.
And his dad.
Despite the disses from Queso and J-Dot through mid-2020, Julio was chilling on the disrespect and focusing on more commercial music. But towards the end of the year, things started to heat up again and some new faces emerged. Spot 'em Got 'em was a KTA rapper and good friend of Julio, and in April, he dropped a song called Beatbox. The song didn't blow up immediately, but around late 2020, it started to go up. Around this same time, Young and Ace clicked up with two Jacksonville rappers called Spinnin' Benz and Wobble with the Chopper. They had mutual friends and ops, so after Ace met them playing the game, they became cool. Spins and Wop were extremely disrespectful and had been dissing Fulio, KTA, and their dead members for most of 2020, but they weren't really getting views like that. After they met Ace, they continued dissing and started getting more attention. In late 2020, Fulio began to start back dissing again, beginning in December with a song called Double That. In 2021, things would elevate to the extreme.
Man, hear that Who I Smoke reaction now? That was
Fulio started the year off with an extremely disrespectful Back in Blood freestyle. Then, 2 months later, Spins, Ace, WAP, and Fast Money Goon teamed up to drop one of the most iconic diss tracks in history when they dropped Who I Smoke in March. They dissed a total of 8 dead ops, made incriminating statements about events that had already happened, and even made smoking 3 of the names mentioned into the chorus of the song. The song featured a sample from Vanessa Carlton's 1,000 Miles Away, and they shot the video on a nice looking golf course. So between the sample, video location, and extremely disrespectful lyrics, it gave the feel of a when the song doesn't match the video parody. This allowed it to go mega viral. It did millions of views in the first couple of days and continued to go crazy for weeks.
I was shocked.
The song was everywhere, and Fulio was not too happy about this. 3 days after it released, he dropped his first response, which was a freestyle on the beatbox beat where he set the record for the most dead ops dissed in the fewest amount of bars, dissing about 10 people in his first 4 bars. And he shot the entire video in his ops hood. The song got attention, but Foolio wasn't satisfied, so he went on to make another song. And this time, he hopped on Fantasia's I See
that reaction was
even more deceased ATK members. And he shot one of the most disrespectful music videos in history.
Yeah.
He had a poster made of Young and Ace's brother and homies he lost back in 2018. Then he went to a graveyard to mock him and pretend to grieve for them. The song caught everybody's attention and almost went as viral as Who I Smoke. Foolio had been rapping for around 6 or 7 years up to that point, but this was the first time the majority of the public was discovering who he was. People had been tapped in with the situation brewing in Jacksonville, reporting on it since 2020, but after Who I Smoke and When I See You, there was a huge demand for these types of videos, and the biggest channels in the niche began covering it.
Yeah.
In May, Public Trap Lord Ross, Trap Geek, and Hip Hop Daily all made videos about the scene, broadcasting the situation to millions or more people, and adding to the growing number of eyes on the city. Everybody was locked into what was going on in Jacksonville, but the FBI was locked into what was going on in Orlando.
Yeah, FBI be watching,
June
boy.
of 2021, Glock 9, Hot Boy, and their respective crews, AFNF and 438, a total of 34 members were charged in one of the largest RICO cases in Florida history. The violence and destruction that had started in 2020 had continued to ramp up to the point that the FBI had to step in. During this time, Glock 9 had been in and out of jail, dropping music here and there, but fading from relevance. On the other hand, Hot Boy had been emerging as an artist and really looking like a potential mainstream star. He dropped big songs like Go Talk 2, I Really, and Nobody Special, collaborating with some of the biggest artists out like Polo G, Moneybagg Yo,
get into that bag.
But in June, he found himself wanted for various RICO crimes.
Oh, damn.
But Hot Boy wasn't ready to go yet, and he chose to go on the run, continuing to post to Instagram and release music. But this lasted about a month, and he eventually turned himself in July and was able to bond out. So for the rest of 2021, Glock 9 sat in jail, and Hot Boy continued to drop music and put Orlando on his back. Back in Jacksonville, the scene was still cracking, and more rappers were starting to pop out. In May, a rapper called K Shorty dropped his first song ever, Tired of Shooting, getting a decent amount of attention right out the gate. K Shorty was from the 6 Block neighborhood in North Jacksonville, the same hood as Foolio, and had been good friends with Bibby. Despite being from the same hood as Foolio, he had problems with him. Foolio, being Foolio, had taken his beef to the music and dissed him in an unreleased song that came out as a snippet, so K Shorty's first song was actually a response to Foolio. K Shorty had problems with Foolio, but they weren't really ops. But one of K Shorty's actual ops saw that he had started rapping and didn't like it. Shortly after K Shorty had posted his first ever video, Spinning Benz went on Instagram and posted an old embarrassing video of him doing a dance that made him look zesty. Then, a couple days later, he dropped an extremely disrespectful song called I Don't Smoke Kendre, where he dissed around 10 of K Shorty and Foolio's homies, and threw up the same video clip from IG in that video as well. Spinning Benz was red hot off of Who I Smoke, so the song went crazy, getting millions of views and quickly becoming his second biggest song ever. K Shorty and his homies Jake Jit and LaCracker responded with a disrespectful song of their own called The Ops, where they dissed multiple dead ATK members, and their song blew up as well, also hitting millions of views. And K Shorty, who had been rapping for less than 2 months, found himself with a bunch of new fans and buzz around his name. He continued to drop big songs throughout the summer. Then in September, everything came to a halt when he was booked for a body. Also in Jacksonville, but separated from everything going on between ATK and KTA, Nardo Wick was beginning to take off with songs like Slide and the original version of Who Wants Smoke. And he continued to drop throughout the year and get cosigns from all the big rappers like G Herbo, DaBaby, Lil Durk, and Future. In 2022, for most of Florida, things slowed down. Rod Wave remained the biggest rapper. Nardo Wick continued going up, dropping his Who Wants Smoke remix with Durk, 21, and Herbo, which took off, getting tens of millions of views on YouTube. Ace, Foolio, Spins, and WAP all saw their numbers drop because the beef in Jacksonville was getting old to the fans. And on top of this, a large portion of the rappers in the scene were sitting in jail. YNR Mookie was sentenced to 10 years. Queso's own father agreed to testify against him,
when I seen that,
and K-Shorty remained locked up waiting on trial. Cowboy continued rising, dropping big songs like WTF and Living to Die, but in June, his bond was revoked and he had to return to jail to wait for trial. Glock 9 was sentenced to 7 years in December of 2021 for weapons charges and still had another RICO case hanging over his head. And Melly was in his 3rd year waiting in jail. So all the beef and violence that had brought attention to Florida in 2020 and 2021 ended up getting a lot of artists involved, caught up, and killing the momentum of the whole state. On a smaller scale, artists like Lil Shimmy, FCG Heem, and Rico Cartel were starting to take off, and the biggest new artist to emerge in 2022 was Real Boston Richie, who blew up in March with his breakout hit Keep Dissin' and signed a feature in August, continuing to go up the whole year. Since 2018, when gangsters took over Florida rap, the state has seen an insane amount of attention as well as bloodshed. Rappers have come and gone, and a lot of the talent the state has to offer is currently sitting in jail. But throughout all the dissing and war going on, the biggest rapper to come out of Florida in these years rapped about relatable topics like pain, struggle, and heartbreak, and stayed true to himself.
Right wave, man. But hey, y'all let me know down in the comment section what y'all think about it, who's y'all favorite artists and stuff like that. But hey, I thank y'all, love y'all. This was a really good video. If y'all haven't, go check out part 1. Okay, I watched it already, but alright. You know I gave y'all part 2 though, so be happy. But your boys out. I don't do no fucking talking. I just keep my head down balling. All these